Hello and welcome to a brand new season of the 131 Web Radio Truck Series from ANZCAR here tonight at Indianapolis for the opening round of Season 3. So brand new season, lots of changes, lots of formats, different formats and so on taking effect in ANZCAR at the moment. So I'm joined in here by Danny G in the commentary box to call the action with us tonight as always. So welcome Danny, and what impressions are you getting just having a look at practice here?
Yeah, thanks Edwards. G'day everyone. Impressions? Well, Jackson seems fast. You got Chris Parnell up there too, but it's going to be an interesting season. I think we've opened it up. Pretty much anyone can come in here and run this championship. So I think you'll see the usual suspects up the top, but it should be an interesting year all around. I'm sort of looking forward to like the middle of the pack, where the up and comers that are trying to make the Thunder Series license. See how well they go in this one.
Well, I am quite glad you touched on that, Daniel, because obviously the big change for from an ANZCAR perspective is that this series has also always been set up as a feeder series to the Thunder to bring that next generation of talent through into that series. But there's also been a lot of guys in Thunder who've really wanted to run this series and really enjoy driving the truck. It is the most popular vehicle on iRacing, so not surprising that a lot of these guys want to get out there and run it. So ANZCAR have opened it up. It's open to just about, it is open to every ANZCAR member at the moment. So you're going to see some of the regular faces. I think Jason Martin's here tonight, Josh Micklemore's here tonight. You got Walsh and Purnell and Callow and Priest and Williams and all those guys who you see quite often in Thunder. They're in here tonight, and they're going to be going head to head with the new up and comers that are coming through. So it is very much a free for all. We've got a big field here tonight. I think around about 34, 35 cars. And judging on what I've seen so far in the practice session, just the bits and pieces that I've been watching, it seems like a lot of guys are struggling to really hold their trucks on the track over a distance. There seem to be a lot of guys understeering out into that turn 4 wall, and a few guys sort of spinning down across the apron. And if you think back to this round last season, which saw the biggest crash in ANZCAR history. I think it took out around 16 competitors or something like that. So obviously happening there on the front straight where there is no runoff, there's no grass or anything like that. So this many trucks squashed into that sort of space, I can't help but think there's a fair possibility we may see something like that again.
Yeah, I think so. I'm seeing sort of action all around the place. Like you say, they push off turn 4 pretty hard into the outside wall, and I've seen a lot come off pretty loose at the exit of turn 2. So yeah, pretty much everywhere is going to be trouble tonight.
Well, that's the thing about Indianapolis, isn't it? There's not too much in the way of banking, certainly not by comparison to Daytona or even Bristol for that matter, which has very, very steep banking. It's a much shallower banking here. Very much an old style circuit, of course, first constructed back in 1911. I think it first ran its first race or something like that. So there really isn't too much of a multiple groove racetrack here. You can run really low in the turns. That's the ideal line, the fast line. You could probably also get away with just hanging around, on that next groove up, just around the outside of somebody. But any higher than that, you're really kind of washing out off that ideal line. You're going to struggle to get it turned. And those are the guys that you're seeing running into the wall, the guys who just can't keep the truck down when they do get out. And of course, as the race goes on, the marbles are going to build up out there as well, which is going to make it even less grip and turn it into even more of a one groove track. So there's a lot to contend with tonight for these guys.
Yeah, there definitely is, and it pretty much is like you say, that one groove racetrack, or like it gets to that point, and you can spend a lot of time, like 5, 6, 7 laps, catching the car in front of you, 2, 3 tenths over those several laps, and you can lose it all in one corner if you just outbrake yourself or get out of that groove up high, just wash all your speed off, and the advantage is over.
And we saw a very similar thing. We've been at Indy quite a lot recently in ANZCAR. We did have a round of the Truck Series here not too long ago, sort of towards the end of last season. And we also had the Brickyard 400 ANZCAR Cup race here on the Saturday just gone, which we saw a very exciting event for all concerned. So now as we're here with the trucks, we're moving on into qualifying. I've just got an eye on Aaron Dillon at the moment, who's heading straight out of the pit lane to start his lap. and Todd Maxfield heading out there as well. But we might just stick with Aaron Dillon in the 013 Lads Racing Team Tundra, and we'll just see what he's actually able to put together. He's had a few incidents so far in practice, but he may have just been practicing for those qualifying runs and really seeing how much he could get out of that truck. And he's just pulling out onto the back straight now. So Daniel, what are you expecting to see from Aaron?
Yeah, well, he's coming up pretty good momentum from season 2. So yeah, I'll probably try and see a lot of him actually. He was pretty stable up the front most of all last year, and I think we'll see him up there again.
And he's really doing quite a bit of racing at the moment, Aaron. You're seeing him in this series. You do see him in various series that ANZCAR run. We saw him in the AUSCARs that were on last night on Performance C streaming. So he's definitely getting into his oval racing quite a lot. And as we just see him heading off there into turn 1, he's probably a bit higher than he wants to be, just as he goes there through turn 1 and then out through turn 2 as well. Just kind of, he's got a bit better line there through turn 2, but I think he was a bit high through 1, and his run onto the back straight didn't seem that smooth either, so he may have actually cost himself a little bit of time. So as we watch him now just come down towards turn 3, we'll see if he's able to get it down there. Yeah, he gets it down very, very nicely in turn 3, almost to the border of 2 low. Gets right out against the wall, going into 4. And this one, the truck can go a bit tight as well, but he does handle it right down there onto the lower line. And that bottom end of the track was quite good. So let's see what he crosses the line in for his first lap here. And he will cross the line in a 52.826, and he's been immediately beaten by his teammate Nicholas Walsh. So just got Maxfield in there as well, and Tristan Yellen's just moved into, and the times are actually coming thick and fast at the moment, but we'll just stick with Aaron for his second lap. And he's been bumped down to 4th so far. Will Barrington sitting fastest at the moment, but just watching this second lap of Aaron Dillon's actually looks a lot nicer, I think, through the first part of the lap than his previous one. So if his tyres are still at a decent temperature, he gets very low there in turn 3. But if his tyres still manage to hold on at a reasonably decent temperature, he may improve on this lap, or he doesn't really get ideal positioning through turn 4, runs out a little bit narrow coming off that turn, but as he comes down across the line here, we will see him. Does he improve? Only slightly, only by a couple of thousandths of a second, so he will stay P9. So is there anybody else out there on the track you can see at the moment setting a time?
Yeah, I'm just scanning through the drivers now. It looks like Jackson Keller's out on track. Just going through turn 1 now. Probably on his fast lap, clips the apex quite nice in turn 1, heading into turn 2. And he's looking like he's got this pretty hooked up there. You sort of like, well, my preferred line, you sort of want to get down pretty close to that white line, if not under it. I think under it sort of gives you a little bit more understeer and good turn off the corners.
Well, yeah, he's looking good, isn't he? But he's already on his second time lap, and he's actually yet to register a time, so I can only assume that he glanced the wall or something of that nature during his first lap. And as we see him now just sort of coming through 3 and 4, his line looks really ideal. So if he's managed to just avoid any contact or anything like that through this lap, we will expect him to actually go fairly quick, fairly close towards the top of the timesheets. Purnell sitting top of that tree at the moment with a 52.1. Just watching Callow, and he's gone into P2 with a 52.3, so he may have actually wanted to be a bit higher up than that, maybe get a bit closer to Purnell, but Purnell sitting pretty there at the top of the tree at the moment.
Yeah, he is, and I'm just now looking at Josh Micklemore's gone into 9th position there. Looks like he's going to give up this lap.
Okay, so Micklemore slotting in there tonight. I think he would have hoped for better as well. Just having a look down through the field, I think we can see Dave Douglas. He's actually just pulling out of the pit lane at the moment, is getting ready to start his 2 flying laps to decide his position on the grid. Probably didn't see as much from him in practice as I thought we might. He was sort of lower midfield, and for a driver who won the last Thursday Night Thunder race, you'd almost expect him to be a little bit higher than that, but he doesn't drive the truck that often, and that definitely experience and how often you actually handle these things really does have an effect, especially when times are so close. So in terms of what you're expecting to see, what kind of laps you're expecting to see from Dave, what are you expecting, Daniel?
Well, you never know what happens in practice too. Like a lot of the fast times might have been helped with draft. These straights are long. These trucks do push a lot of air. So Jay, yeah, we're just going to have to see as he comes onto the front stretch here, but I reckon he'll be up there.
Yeah, you certainly would expect him to be, and just watching him now as he comes across the line to start his first flying lap. He's the only representatives of the Riley Curtis Designs stable out here tonight, and once again he's another one who's just probably not as low in turn one as he'd want to be. Probably just need to get it a little bit lower than that, but he does sit down nice and low, pretty much what you call an ideal line through turn two. So not sure how much that would have cost him. It certainly would have cost him something in turn one. But we'll see how much he hooks up the second part of the lap here, and what he's able to do and what kind of time he's actually able to put in. So just turning in, dropping down, just running up against the curb there in turn three. A lot of guys getting very, very low in three, actually, more so than in the other turns, and pretty nicely done through turn four as well. So as he comes out on the front straight for the first time, we're going to see him across the line and see where he gets. Just coming across the line now, and he goes well up the top. So P4 for him at the moment, a 52.392, fourth position, in behind Purnell, Callow, Sadler, and then we got Dave Douglas, Jason Williams with a good run in P5 at the moment as well.
Yeah, he's done well to sit up there in fourth, and probably knows he gave up a tenth, 2 tenths through that turn one mistake. But right now we're looking at Michael Skurlock. He's just starting his flying lap, going through turn one.
Reigning champion Michael Skurlock actually won the championship in the final deciding round against Doherty, Ben Doherty, in the last season of the 131 Web Radio Truck Series. And we haven't seen a time come up from Ben either yet, so he'll be one to keep an eye on. But Michael just heading out onto the back straight. Looked pretty tidy through that first sector. He's gone quite well, so just running out now, and he looks like he's actually aborted that lap. So obviously not happy with it, and he may come out and give it another shake. He's positioned at the end of the pit lane again. Not really sure what his plans are at the moment, but we might just scroll through, see if we can see anyone else out there on a fast lap. So Raymond Yeager's out there at the moment. He's actually just starting a hot lap in that number 23 Chevy Silverado, and he's well high in turn one, really, really high in turn one, and that's not going to help him out whatsoever. He was almost mid-track as he was running through there. He does get, he's still pushing up through turn two even, so this is not going well at all. I don't think this is going to be a good lap for Yeager at all.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he might be able to make up a little bit of time in turn three. We'll see how low he can get to rest as he just heads off to turn three now. Kind of low, but no, he just sort of clips that white line, not as low as the others.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's got his brake bias set to, but I think he may need to, he's not even low in turn four either, so either he's running that line deliberately, and I can't imagine that he is, or he's just not able to get that turn, so maybe a little brake bias adjustment for Raymond might actually help him out, but it's not going to help him out right now because he's in the qualifying session, and Raymond Yeager goes through, and he's only just popped up ahead of Tristan Yellen there, so he's only one place, he's on the back row as things stand at the moment.
Yeah, he looks like he's gotten a lot better line here in turn one, missed it in turn two, but he's definitely trying on the second lap here, heading down the back stretch.
Yeah, he's throwing everything at it, isn't he? I think we might see that. I mean, that first part of the lap there did look a lot better than the first lap he did. So you'd expect an improvement here if he's able to hook it up through this last sector. Turn three could be a bit lower, but it's quite nice. Just probably could use a little bit more on the outside there as well, but he's not been able to get it really turned, although he does get down onto the white line for turn four. I'd expect this to be faster. I'm not sure it's going to vault him up too much higher, though.
No, I don't think so either. He wasn't actually too fast in practice either. Actually, he's quite slower in his qualifying than his practice by half a second.
Yeah, so he's not going to be pleased with that at all. That slots him into 26th place as it stands, and just keeping an eye on the top of the table. Purnell still sitting there at the top of the tree ahead of Callow. Sadler with a great lap there in third place. Stephen Williams, Dave Douglas, Jason Williams. I'm not sure if that's any relation down there in P6. And then Jason Martin, the man who's won and dominated so much in ANZCAR competition. He's sat down there at the moment in P7. So normally the guy who invariably starts on pole. He starts on pole more often than Anton Senna used to, and he's down there in 7th. So obviously not all to Jason's liking also.
No, that'll probably be a shock to his system. And, I don't think we've got Braden Boulos here tonight. So, I reckon this is going to come down to a good race between Danson Martin, Chris Purnell and Jackson Callow, Gavin Sadler, Stephen Williams. Stephen Williams has been fast. He was very fast at the end of last season. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Matt Danson there. He's another one who's won the championship before in this series, and he's sitting there in 8th place, only one behind Martin. So Purnell is 2/10 clear ahead of everybody. Absolutely fantastic lap from him. And to see Jason down there and Danson down there, Will Barrington's only 1,000th of a second off Matt Danson as well. So it's a mixed field. It is a really mixed bag as far as the start of this race goes. And while we're on it, we may just actually look at the times and look at the grid here for the start of this race. We'll see those those guys, they'll be gridding up very soon in those trucks. So we may just take the opportunity to run through the grid. So front row, as mentioned, we've got Chris Purnell starting inside row 1, Michelle Callow, Jackson Callow starting outside of him, Gavin Sadler, Stephen Williams on row 2, row 3, Dave Douglas and Jason Williams, row 4, Jason Martin and Matt Danson, probably the best credential row on the grid in actuality. Row 5, Will Barrington, Nicholas Walsh back there as well. Row 6, our reigning champion, Michael Skurlock and Ryan Jones, keeping him company there. Brett Douglas and Damon Stockton on the row behind them. Then we're looking back and we've got Matt Clyatt and Josh Micklemore, both guys you'd expect to see a bit further up than that as well. Kyle Stevens and Dwayne Preece, and then Ricky Cornwall and Nathan Tregarten round out the top 20. And then 21st position, we've got Bradley Cheney and Aaron Dillon keeping him company right alongside him. Then we've got Tristan Koch and Kai Slogger, 23rd and 24th. Reese May, Raymond Yeager with that lap that we saw. He probably wished he'd been able to get something closer to his practice time in that one. They're 25th and 26th. Then we're looking back, we've got Todd Maxfield, Kevin Bomford, Tristan Yellen, great to see him out here tonight, and Darren McKenzie, Ben Doherty, Stacey Walker, Terry Marwood and Ryan Bell did not set laps. So just taking a look as they move off on their parade lap now. Very big field, 34 trucks here. And coming into the start of this race, you're almost sort of nervous, thinking what kind of race we're actually going to see, and how everyone's going to behave themselves coming around in these first few laps.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, sort of the first race of the year, I don't know if they're going to be calm, but then you look at those names up there and the calibers of drivers who want to win these races, and it could get aggressive pretty early. Who knows?
Calm. These boys don't know the meaning of calm. I don't think I've seen one bloke who's actually out there on the track at the moment who's ever done anything approaching calm. So I think that they're going to go at it very quickly. I think Gavin Sadler is up there in 3rd. That's a bit of a surprise package. He's very quick in the ANZCAR series. We've seen him up there. In last night's race, but sometimes in the ANZCAR races, he puts in great qualifying performances, and other times he's sort of in the mid-pack. So great to see him up there on the inside second row. So as Purnell leads them around now to the start, they're going to be getting themselves set, getting themselves all lined up, getting the tyres just as they want them, and everything set on their wheels and so on the way that they want it. And Purnell will lead them away for the start of this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be good. Going to be interesting at the start. These things like to fan out 3 wide, 4 wide down the backstretch if they can. So we're just going to have to see, who makes those moves and if it happens.
All right, so here we go. Pace car about to go in, and Season 3 2018 is underway. Chris Purnell goes very early. Callow goes with him, and I think we've got Sadler just slotting there into 3rd place as well. So fairly good start up front. So just Dave Douglas looks like he's having a look there inside Jason Williams. Jason Williams looks like he may have actually got the jump on him there from the start, and they're all fighting through quite cleanly. So Purnell, Callow, Sadler, Williams, Douglas, Jason Williams, Jason Martin, Barrington, Walsh, Skurlock and Jones, all coming down the back straight now in that huge pack of 34 trucks, and all running in there very closely together. Callow right on the rear bumper of Chris Purnell at the moment, the only one showing Chris any kind of challenge whatsoever. Those two just seem to have checked out at the moment, and Jason Martin wasting no time at all. He's coming through into 5th position already, making a charge towards the front. But just watching Callow, he's got a really good run out of turn 4. He's right up on the back bumper of Chris Purnell and may look to make a move to turn 1. He pulls out. Is he going to actually try and make that move? No. Pulls back in behind Purnell. Happy to follow him around for another couple of turns. And these guys all just running single file at the moment, sort of looking back a little way in the pack. They're 2 by 2 by 2 a whole way down the field, and it's an absolute jostle even further back there. But out front, at the very least, things very, very tidy to start this one.
Yeah, at the moment I'm just watching Dave Douglas. He's been racing Jason Martin on the outside and actually making it work. I think Jason pulled this move when he was at this position a lap ago, and so Dave was hung on the outside for a lap pretty much here.
Which is very difficult to do. You just see Jason actually clear him now and actually get that move done, but very hard to stick around the outside here, as we mentioned, just due to the shallow nature of the banking. And Dave Douglas will slot in there behind Jason Martin. He's got Will Barrington keeping him company there, and behind them we've got Ryan Jones running absolutely side by side. As I say that, he just tucks in behind Stephen Williams, and even behind that we've got Josh Micklemore. He's on the inside there of Damon Stockton, trying to make his way through. He's going to be trying to push up on those leaders as well. We know how quick Josh can be, but he's not going to be able to do much from down there in the pack. So he's going to want to clear Stockton and probably start making moves sooner rather than later to get back up there with Jason Martin and indeed the leaders.
Yeah, we're 3 wide down the back stretch down in the pack, and they're actually 3 wide. I think between Nathan Tregarth and around that area, they're actually 3 wide in turn 1. I don't know how they didn't wreck.
It's absolutely crazy at Indy. 3 wide through turn 1. You don't even see the Indy cars do that, and they're absolutely packed with downforce. But looking back at the front at the moment, we see Chris Purnell leading by only a hair's breadth from Jackson Callow. Sorry, I keep reading that name as it's written. And Gavin Sadler sitting in there 3rd behind them. Jason Williams, isn't he having a good run? We haven't seen too much of him in ANZCAR competition. I think he's relatively new. I think he sort of came along at the end of the last truck series, but he's up there in 4th place at the moment, having a spectacularly good run. So hopefully that all works out for him. I'd love to see him there at the end of the race. And Callow now really just pushing up onto the back of Purnell again. I'm not sure how impatient Callow's likely to be. Having raced against him myself a couple of times, I know he's extremely aggressive, and he's not likely to be one to sit behind and wait for an opportunity. He makes opportunities happen just of his own volition. So if he needs to get the bumper out on the back of Purnell to
Yeah, sorry fellas, sorry everyone, I think we've had sound. I'll have to fill this anyway. So I'm just okay. Back to the front. We got Chris Purnell. We got Jackson Callow in 2nd place, followed by Gavin Taylor. He's not giving up, and Jason Williams. He's all over the back of him. It's looking to be a good race. Jason Martin still sitting there in 5th position. Dave Douglas has fallen back down to 6th, and Will Barrington there in 7th. Actually, want to give a good shout out to Will. Pretty sure we had a good race actually on a Saturday in the Cup Series, and raced me very clean, and it was good fun. So yeah, I think he's going to be up there before the end of this night's finished, and see what kind of finish that he can get.
Do apologise, guys. Had a little bit of a connection drama there, but yeah, just rejoining the action with you guys now. And as Daniel was just mentioning, Will Barrington did have a great Cup run there on Saturday, and is having a very good run here tonight as well. So just scrolling back down through the field, everybody's pretty much one by one at the moment, just fanning out. And actually, you know, I mentioned earlier on, wasn't expecting them to be calm, but they're definitely behaving themselves. We're running 6 laps now under green. Just looking at the down towards the back of the field, we've got Ricky Cornwall, and he's running in there right up behind. He's in there with Kyle Stevens. He's in there with I think Kai Sloggett's back in there as well, and all these guys jostling together and definitely trying to actually build their way off the back of the pack and start making their way forward at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just still having a look at the battle up there at the front just to see if Callow's catching. He's sort of maintaining that sort of 0.4 of a second. And yeah, Jace Williams still all over the back of Gavin Sadler. He's actually having a look here in turn 3. I don't think he's going to get it done though.
No, he just seemed to be sitting out next to him, well, not next to him, but sort of out of his draft the whole way down the back straight. I'm not sure why he was doing that, because surely it's faster to be sitting in behind Gavin and trying to draw up on the tailgate of that Toyota like that. But he kind of sat out, and as a result didn't really make a whole lot of ground on him. He is tucked in behind him now, though, and he might want to get a move on because Jason Martin is bearing down on the pair of them, absolutely.
Oh, we got a spin coming off a turn 4, sorry. 2 cars, one hard into the outside wall, yellow flag.
Okay, did we catch who it was?
Several at the moment. No, we got Bradley Cheney. It's still going on down the front stretch. Stacey Walker just copped a big hit from Tristan Koch. And,
yeah, looks like Raymond Yeager might have been involved in that one as well, actually. So just trying to have a bit of a scroll back to actually find out what took place there. Not sure who was the actual root cause of that one, but it certainly was a decently sized wreck, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just having a look now. It looks like... Oh, here it is. I think it's Aaron Dillon, actually. He's on the... Sort of gets a little bit loose there in turn 5. Now, it looks weird. The truck just wiggled all around the place. And he caught the hit from the 12. He went on the inside, and everyone behind him sort of checked up and ended in the inside wall and spread out down the front stretch.
Yeah, that's a shame for him. We did see Aaron Dillon having quite a lot of spins and so on in practice. We did comment on it earlier on when we were watching him out there for qualifying. But so he's got involved. It looks like he's taken a few guys with him who are going to need repairs. It looks like Dwayne Priest, Raymond Yeager, and Stacey Walker potentially involved in that one as well. So, and I think you mentioned that Cheney picked up a bit of damage in that as well. So down in the back of the pack, that hasn't done those guys any favours. But sort of looking towards the remainder of the field, I think there's absolutely no doubt we're going to see these guys pit. I'd be very surprised if we actually saw anybody stay out and not elect to take fresh tyres.
Yeah, it's been 9 laps now. You know, those tyres are well and truly heated up and pretty much greasy out there on the track. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll see everybody come in too.
And 9 laps doesn't sound like much, but this is a 2.5 mile super speedway. So even though we don't run the plates here like they do at Daytona and Talladega, just due to the nature of the course, it is a 2.5 mile track. It is technically a super speedway, and 9 laps is actually quite a long way around here. We're a fifth distance of the way through the race as we cross the line this time. So just watching everyone come down the pit lane as predicted. Just watching the leaders, Purnell coming in there. Also looking at Sadler and Callow as they cruise down at what must seem like a snail's pace to them as they cruise down the pit lane and just get into their pit boxes. And the race off pit road is going to be interesting because there hasn't been a lot of overtaking up front between the leaders, so this could be a good opportunity for someone to gain position.
Yeah, Purnell, Jackson, Sadler, they all hit their marks. And I know Sadler doesn't actually. I think he was too short. He had to come up. He's going to lose a lot of positions. But yeah, like you say, they come off the back stretch, front stretch, 190 miles an hour, down to 60. So yeah, that is snail pace, and these front stretch pit lane is long.
Okay, it looks as though Matt Danson's actually stayed out. So Matt Danson has elected to stay out and actually try his luck there on the older tyres. I don't believe he came to the lane. Nathan Tregarten has a very, very fast pit stop as well. So maybe he only took 2 tyres and elected to actually gain some position that way. So if that's the case, and I'm just rewinding at the moment just to have a quick look to see if Danson did indeed come to the pit lane and confirm for you absolutely that he did not stop, and I can confirm with you that Matt Danson did not stop, and I believe he's the only one that elected to stay out. So he has jumped from 14th position all the way up to first place. Nathan Tregarten has jumped from 18th position all the way up to second on what I believe to be a 2-tyre pit stop. Everybody else, so Purnell, Callow, Sadler and co, are all coming up behind them on 4 fresh tyres. So this is going to be very, very interesting indeed.
But I think Nathan Tregarten, he actually missed his pit. I saw him sort of bobble there. He didn't seem to pit, sort of made a few decisions on where to pit. I don't think he could find his pit. He had to come back out, so he's just dropping on the inside now and will pit now.
So he does. So it looks like he actually missed his box, and we've got one truck come flying in there. It looks like Danson's going in as well. So I'm not really sure why Danson waited that lap to come in. Maybe he didn't want to come into the congested pit lane, or maybe he just missed it, but very unusual there. I can't imagine what benefit he'd be looking to gain unless they are marginal on fuel, and he believes he can now get to the end from there, pitting a lap later perhaps. It's not like him to make mistakes like that, so I can only imagine that this is some sort of deliberate strategic move.
Well, you get about, in the Cup cars it was about 35 to 40 laps, and there's 39 laps to go now. So that could be interesting. I would never have thought of that. It's a heads up to him if he actually has thought of that. The only other reason I could think of would be for the laps led statistic, leader lap.
Yeah, possibly, definitely. So with Danson now just exiting the pits, and he will join up at the back of the pack, of course, with one lap or half a lap, given the fact that they're under caution, running at slower speeds, more fuel than anyone else, and very, very slightly newer tyres. So just... It's going to be interesting. Maybe he can run. Maybe it's a fuel thing. Maybe he can run to the end from here. But of course, that's counting on it running green from here. If it, I can't imagine that it's going to run green from here though. I can only think that with this amount of cars on the track, there's only got to be another caution. And with Danson sort of dropping down from where he was down to the very back, he's sort of guaranteeing that any incident is actually going to happen in front of him, and he's going to need to do some crash avoidance at some stage. So I guess there's always a possibility that it'll run green the whole way. It's going to work out brilliantly for him. He's going to look like a genius, but I think the odds are more weighted against that at the moment. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if it works out for him. Another story to follow in what's already a very interesting race.
Yeah, for sure, and the intensity is only going to jump up from here. 50 laps, start of the race, 50 laps might have been a little bit calm, but now all of a sudden you're dropping to the 30s or the high 30 laps to go, and it's pretty much going to be on from here.
Yeah, so we've got Braden Bullis in the chat at the moment, just watching the broadcast, and he says that Matt Danson is going to go to the front. So we certainly know who he's pulling for in tonight's race. So just watching these guys all line up double file now. They have taken one to green, and they're going to get ready to go racing once again. Lights out on the top of the pace car, and shouts out to Braden, who's not racing there tonight, and it looks as though there's a couple of other guys there in the chat. Looks like Aaron Wilton's sitting there in the chat as well, just enjoying the action on Performance E streaming.
And we've got Jason Martin here. He's on the access lane, so he's dropping back. I'm not sure what happened there.
Maybe a penalty. That's the only thing I can think of. The only reason why he would be dropping back like that is because he perhaps got a pit lane speeding penalty or something like that. We did see him get a penalty in the Cup race, which actually had him fall back to second in a race that he was absolutely dominating, and he only managed to recover that victory in the last couple of laps. So he has got form in that area. So perhaps it's another pit road mistake from Jason, or perhaps there's something else going on. Okay, it's difficult to know.
Yeah, not too sure, but back up the front, Purnell, Jackson, we'll see what happens. This time around, you got Dave Douglas up there in fourth, but during that first run, it just looked like Purnell just had the edge over Jackson.
Yeah, and Jason Williams still sat there in third place at the moment, so he's doing excellently. And we've got the number 16 truck, Will Barrington, on the outside of Sadler there, and he's sitting there in sixth. So very good performance from a lot of those guys. Mickelmore, he's worked his way up a whole lot of way. He's in 8th position at the moment, and Purnell takes the jump, and Callow will slot in behind him. Looks like Jason Williams has actually done very well there to just stick on the inside, and he should be able to slot third place ahead of Dave Douglas. And as everybody sort of follows around, Purnell does continue to lead, as he has since the beginning of this race.
Pretty much from 10th on back, there you go, double wide, going through turn 2. Yeah,
double wide's a scary enough thing at Indy without running 3 wide like some of those guys were before. Just having a look at Jason Williams now, he's right up on the back of Jackson Callow, and looks as though he may be actually spoiling for a move into second place there. And Gav Sadler is actually sitting right on the back of Dave Douglas as well. So a couple of little battles forming out there, but I have to say Chris Purnell has absolutely taken off. And just looking a little bit further back in the pack, we can actually see Damon Stockton, and he is running very, very close company with Nicholas Walsh. Walsh did make a bit of a move off the exit of turn 4 to try and have a bit of a look down the inside of him, but has decided to pull out of that one and wait for another opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it was Skurlock there. I think it was Skurlock, Stockton, and possibly Nicholas Walsh there coming through turn 3, and they made it stick. I don't know how. That's pretty good effort.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys sort of further back in the pack at the moment. There's a couple of guys still on pit road. Bradley Cheney still on pit road and so on. Tristan Yellen still running quite well out there. He's just getting lapped by the leaders at the moment, sticking nice and low to the bottom. And it looks like Yelland heading for the pit lane, and it looks as though that just made Purnell check up enough. We've got a change for the lead. Callow going to the lead there, and I think that possibly Yelland there being lapped on the inside has been enough to actually put Purnell off and cause a change in those front positions. So Callow leads for the first time tonight.
Yeah, Jackson Callow to the front. Still at the rear, there's a massive battle going on through turn 2. There's a bit of an accident. I think might have been Kevin Bomford ended up in the wall in turn 4. There's sort of a bit of a mix-up there as the lead changed. I was sort of keeping an eye on it too.
Yeah, just looking at Bomford now, he looks like he's running along okay, and I can't see too much damage on that truck. So some very similarly painted trucks out there tonight, so I'm not sure that Bomford may be your man in that regard. But just looking back up the front now, we can see Jackson Callow with Purnell all over him, looking to take back the lead, which I'm sure he believes is justifiably his. Really getting up to the back of, and looks like he's just making a move. And Callow's truck just seemed to make a little, it turned in very, very sharply. It looks like the back almost had a little bit of a slide there, but it's gripped up and fired him off through that turn a lot nicer than it may have done. And Purnell has actually lost a little bit of ground now. He's really going to be looking at using that draft. All the front trucks are now all single file, all working off each other's toe. And Purnell looking to close in on Callow. Dave Douglas now working away on the back of Jason Williams as well. It looks like they've just started to slightly, I mean only very slightly, drop Gavin Sadler. And Josh Micklemore, he started 16th. He is now up to 6th place and very much in touch with these leaders. So expect him to come forward as well.
Yeah, and you're right. I really expected Callow to sort of mess up turn 1 there, but he got a ton of grip coming off turn 1 and again kept that lead. He's pretty much kept it now. What about 2/10?
Yeah, going well for them up the front. And just looking a little bit further back in the pack as well, we've got Jason Martin. He's back there down in 23rd position at the moment. When was the last time you saw Jason Martin in a position number higher than his car number? That just does not happen. So he's sat there at the moment, just in there behind Nathan Tregarten and Todd Maxfield, just making a move on Tregarten at the moment. I'd say he'll probably get that done. I know from personal experience how good he is at overtaking around here. So he's going to drop into turn 3 there and slot right in there behind Maxfield. And next target for him will be Maxfield. Expect to see Jason moving his way up as rapidly as he knows how.
And Benelli's really closing in on the back of Jackson, coming down the end of the front stretch, right in the draft there. He's having a look in turn 1. Oh, he's still going.
How close do you want it? Callow wise to it, actually very, very wisely, leaving him some space there on the inside. He was aware he was there, saw him coming in his mirrors, and gave Purnell space. If he didn't, I'll tell you what, that was going to be the mother and father of all accidents with all these guys coming down behind it. What that's done is actually given the guys in 3rd and 4th place, Douglas and Williams, an opportunity to get up behind those front two. And Douglas now diving to the inside of Williams. That is going to cost them a bit of that momentum, but Douglas really wants to get on the back of those top 3. He does that. He takes that 3rd position, and he's going to be looking to move in now on those front two. So great run from Dave, great run from all these guys at the front to keep it clean. Super professional there from Jackson Callow as well, not getting into an incident with Purnell there, as he just absolutely licked that stamp and sent it down the inside. But once more, it looks like not even sure who that was. It might be, I saw Danson on pit road, but I think he may have just taken advantage of something. It might have been Cheney. I think it might have actually been been Bradley Cheney who wound up in the fence there? I'm not sure. No, he's been on pit road for a while, so I'm not sure if you can see anything, Daniel.
No, not yet. I'm just scanning to have a look.
Might actually be Reese May, I think, in the 13. He was kind of, I think it was that truck. I saw a brightly coloured truck and actually thought it was Cheney, but I think that it was actually Reese May who wound up wedged up there against the pit wall.
Yeah, he's gotten loose in turn 4, like well out of shape, and unfortunately Stephen Williams in the Alliance truck, but also Darren McKenzie have sort of ended up in the back of him trying to avoid. Yeah, he slid coming off turn 4, lost too much momentum, and Stephen Williams in the back of him and McKenzie.
And Matt Danson actually made a tour down the pit lane there as well, so I'm not sure if that was planned or he was perhaps trying to avoid that wreck he saw happening in front of him. But either way, he is the last car on the lead lap at the moment, Matt Danson. So some of the favoured runners not having all that good of runs tonight. And just scrolling through the field at the moment, I'm just trying to look to see where Jason Martin's got to, because he was working his way forward. I can't actually locate Jason at the moment. Oh, there he is. He's 19th position, so just solidly making his way up the field as well. So do we reckon we're going to see him come to the lane this time?
Yeah, I reckon you'll see at least the back markers probably will, and probably from midfield. And yeah, with Jason there, he was right behind that wreck, and he sort of managed to avoid that, which was him. But yeah, still back 19th. But it's been a few laps still, and these tyres do wear over these short laps. They're racing pretty hard there for the lead, so I wouldn't surprise to see some leaders come in too.
Yeah, it looks like Purnell, what's he doing? He's kind of fainting down there. And it looks like, yes, he's going to come to the lane. Callow's going to come to the lane. I think he's going to bring everyone with him. So nobody wants to be the guinea pig staying out there on old tyres, just waiting to be swallowed up by the pack. So, everyone's going to come down the lane and come for fresh rubber.
It looks like the only car that possibly didn't was Brett Douglas in the Alliance Motorsport entry. And there was a cone hit on the pit entry. I'm not sure who hit that. I'm just having a look now. I think it might have been Ryan Jones hit the cone. I'm not sure if you got a penalty for that.
Yeah, it depends on how far over that commit line he actually was for whether iRacing will judge him a penalty for that. But I think the reason that we've seen Brett Douglas stay out is he was actually one lap down at the time, so wouldn't have actually been eligible to pit on this lap. He'll be eligible to pit next time round, so he's just cruising around at the moment. We'll probably see him drop to the lane. Also sitting there in the lucky dog position, so I think we will see Brett Douglas get his lap back once these pit stops have all shaken out.
That was a really interesting exit coming out of the pits. It looks like I think Purnell's just got him. No, Carlo's just got him by less than half a truck length.
So the lead changes one more time. And it looks like Dave Douglas has actually had a bad stop there. He's come out behind, I think it's Skurlock. I think he's actually come out behind Michael Skurlock, who's down there, or was 9th as he came running into pit lane. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there to Dave Douglas, but that pit stop has not gone at all well for him.
Oh, he's overshot it and then had to move back and forward. He lost about 5 seconds there on pit lane.
Big shame for him. So he's got it all to do again to regain that third position he had going into this series of pit stops. But looking at Callow now, he's sitting there in first position. Gavin Sadler's still up there at the front. We've got obviously, Purnell, Callow, Jason Williams, Josh Mickelmore still there in 6th position. So it's pretty much as you were, only with Dave Douglas sort of plucked out of that line. Will Barrington up there as well, just in front of, looks like he may have actually jumped Mickelmore in the pit, so a nice stop for him.
Yeah, and we just have to wait for these trucks to cross the start-finish line before we can see the reset order. I'd be interested to see how many positions Jason Martin gained, if he had a fast stop or not. Get him towards the top 10, and there's still over half the race to go. We're just under halfway, so there's still plenty of time if we get some more cautions. But like we saw at the front there during that green flag stint, the intensity is ramping up now. People need to lead. They want to get the clean air, and they're going to race for it.
Well, we're coming up to half distance now as well, so that'll be, I guess, a line in the sand for a lot of these guys. Make it a half distance and then really start trying to make the charge forward. And answer your earlier question, Daniel, Jason Martin up to P10 after that round of pit stops. So he's done something quite right in that, because I believe he was down around about 16th on the way in. So he's gained a ton of spots in there. Whether he went for 2 tyres or something like that, I don't know. I'd be surprised if he did, because I don't really believe that Indy's a circuit where that is going to work particularly well. But that being said, if anybody can pull that off, Jason Martin's likely to be your man. So we'll see what he can do. Well, I think his pace, once the race goes green again, will actually answer that question for us in terms of what he's done tyre-wise. And just keeping an eye on Matt Danson there as well. He's in 21st position at the moment. We did see him have that run down the pit lane earlier on. So he's in 21st, fresh tyres, and expect him to start looking to pick off the guys in front of him as well. So nice drive through the field for him. And Stephen Williams, I believe he was caught in that last accident, because he is there on pit road at the moment with a very, very sorry-looking Toyota Tundra. So he's taking some repairs at the moment, and he will rejoin, I'm sure, when he is able.
And yeah, I think you might be right. I think Jason Martin may have caught a 2-tyre pit stop strategy there. Actually, I sort of counted about 8 to 9 Mississippis. So that's not enough for a 4-tyre pit stop at all. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's come out on 2 tyres and gained 6-7 spots in the process.
Well, that's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see what he is able to do on those half-new, half-old tyres. They're not that old, are they? They only came to the lane a handful of laps ago. So as we go one to go, we've got Braden Bullis, who was so dominant in the races that he took part in the last truck season. He's actually our hotline to Matt Danson tonight, his teammate, and he's basically come on there and he said, can confirm Matt Danson himself has said he's about to charge to the front. So keep an eye on Matt Danson to do that. And also just looking there at the guys who are comprising our top 10 at the moment. We will just recap it for you before we go back green. So we've got Callow, who's managed to jump Purnell in the pits. Purnell second, Gavin Sadler there in third, Jason Williams, Will Barrington, Josh Micklemore there in 6th position. Skurlock's made a huge leap up the field there in 7th position. Dave Douglas, Nicholas Walsh and Jason Martin. That rounds out your top 10, and I think we're going to see quite a few big moves in this next stanza of the race. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you will. And other than sort of the top 5, the back end of the top 10, sort of all different names now. You got Jason Martin's down there, but Matty Clowett, Kyle Stevens, Kai Sloggett there in 13th. So people have sort of come back to the front here at halfway, and half a race to go. We'll see who's got the best truck.
Absolutely, and so we've come to the start here. Keep an eye on Jason Williams there as well. Don't forget, this series is designed to, as we mentioned earlier on, unearth that next generation of talent to come through into the Thunder ranks. And of the top drivers to the top positions in this race, only Jason Williams is a non-Thunder driver. So he's really up there mixing it with the big boys at the moment. It's been an incredibly impressive run from him. So very excited to see what he can do for the remainder of the race as Callow jumps, and will lead them off into turn 1.
And like I say, Jason Williams now in 3rd. They all sort of fan down single file through the top 6. We got another crash in turn 1 though.
Okay, I was just about to say Gavin Sadler didn't get away too well, but obviously the crash has now come out and sort of negated all of that. Have you managed to see who's actually been involved in that one?
Yeah, it looks like Matty Clowett. They went sort of almost 3 wide into turn 1 between Jason Martin. Looks like Nicholas Walsh and Cole got caught in the middle, dived a bit low. Nick was on the inside and ended up fence along with, might be even Nicholas Walsh. Yeah, Nicholas Walsh.
Yes, it looks as though, just sort of watching that, as if Cloud's perhaps not realised that Nicholas Walsh was in there next to him. It looks as though Jason Martin didn't get away that well, and Cloud's got away quite well. He's got a really big run and really just didn't want to have to sacrifice the momentum that he had. It's not every day that you get a run up to past Jason Martin. So he's actually got a really good run there. Tried to have a look down the inside and just probably got a bit of tunnel vision looking to get by Jason. Didn't realise that Walsh was there, and unfortunately it's taken those two. I think it might have given Stockton a touch, but quite fortunately I guess it was only really those 2 guys who were involved in that one.
Yeah, definitely could have taken out a lot more. I mean, it was at the back end of the top 10. You still got 30-odd cars out there. But yeah, like you say, yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if Clowett knew he was down there, or he thought he'd, hope he'd sort of give him a little bit of room. But it doesn't happen sometimes.
And just while we're talking, it looks as though Aaron Dillon and Darren McKenzie's actually just taken his truck behind the wall. He was sitting about 6 laps down. I think he had quite a few repairs going on, so he's taken that truck behind the wall. And it looks as though Tristan Koch as well. He's 16 laps down, and he's actually elected to pull that truck back behind the wall as well. So dropping like flies at the moment. We had quite a big field here. We've still got quite a big field out there on the track. We've got Tristan Yellen still running around there. He's 2 laps down at the moment, running in 24th position and still doing well to be in this race. And I believe he is actually the last running truck at the moment in 24th position. So we've actually lost 10 trucks in half distance of this race.
Yeah, we'll probably lose another one with Matty Clowett. I'm not sure he'll want to continue with that banged up truck.
Alright, so just having a look back at some of the goings on while we've been under caution there, and looks as though everybody's sort of formed back up now behind the pace car, and they're going to be coming around to 1 to go very, very soon. Lights still on the pace car, so you'd imagine we've still got at least 1 more lap after this one before we're going to go green again. And just sort of looking at, okay, so we're halfway through the race now. We are working lap 26 under caution at the moment, and in terms of the top runners in this race, we really haven't seen too much change from qualifying. We haven't seen anybody make any big strides. We've sort of seen Callow, Purnell, Williams, Sadler, Douglas, and all those guys running up front. I suppose the big gainer has really been Josh Micklemore, who started all the way down there in 16th place and has actually worked his way up to 4th. So he, I guess, outside of those guys who've been leading all night, he's probably the one that you'd look at to say that he could probably give the win a really good shake. And of course, we've got some other fast guys who are still buried deep in the pack. Now, interestingly, we've got Jason Williams actually heading to the lane there. So I'm not really sure what the go is there, if he had a penalty or something like that. But he's gone down the lane.
Yeah, I'm not too sure at all. I'm just having a look at a replay, see if I can pick anything up, but it doesn't look like it's got any damage or anything.
Maybe a little bit of strategy from him, bit of a strategic move or something like that. So just having a look, at what he's doing. It looks like he's just running down the lane there. So. Yeah, he's going to lose all those spots, and I'm not sure if this is going to be a drive-through for him or what the story is.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I can't figure it out with Jason Williams anyway. I think he's just coming in for pit. Yeah, 4 new tyres.
Okay, so yeah, he's definitely taking service on that truck. So he's going to take those tyres and come back out with slightly fresher rubber than everyone else. It's not going to be much fresher, but obviously he believes there's a little bit of an advantage in that. So he's going to actually get that truck serviced and come back out and join up on the back of the pack again. So just watching these guys come around, I did think that we were only 2 to green last time, but it looks like we're going to have at least another lap of caution after this one, as the lights are still on that pace car. So they're just rolling around at the moment. Of course, as they do that, the tyres are all cooling off and everything else. So tyres that were already pretty cold being put on in the pit lane aren't getting any warmer rolling around like this under the pace car. So these guys are going to be dropping the hammer on cold tyres, cold but new tyres once the pace car does duck off, and we'll be racing once again. And I'll be interested to just keep a bit of an eye on Josh Micklemore to see how much of an effect he can have on the result of this one. And in 8th place back there, we've got Jason Martin still lurking as well. So those guys carrying a lot of pace and really might be able to give the old Callow Purnell show that we've had so far a really good shake towards the end of this one.
And I think this is sort of where the cautions breed caution flags. I mean, they're pretty much exactly 2 minutes 5 under yellow flag. They only got through 2 corners before the next caution came out. So these laps keep winding down, it's, you know, they don't know when the next caution is going to come out. They're just going to be more aggressive. Yes, it's going to be a good end of the race here. I think Chris Purnell might have a little bit more speed than Jackson over the long run, but it's just interesting to see if he can actually get the job done.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think sort of just going back to what you were saying, touching on the cautions breed cautions, it does get like that, because if the race starts to develop into the kind of race where you are getting a lot of cautions, it's exactly as you said, Daniel, they start to get to the point where they think that the next caution's going to be in the next couple of laps, so they get really desperate trying to get up there and actually attack and make the positions while the green flag lasts. And it almost becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They expect a caution to come out, and all too often they become the caution with that kind of aggression. So we'll see how these guys go, see if they take it quite sensibly, or if they get involved in a bit of nonsense again. I see a few guys actually elected to come to the lane during this caution. They're going to rejoin at the back on slightly fresher tyres than everybody else. But the lights are out on the pace car, and we are ready to go green once again.
Turn 4 now on front stretch. I mean, the leader usually does get a pretty good jump. It's hard to sort of stick with him. If Purnell can stick with him like too wide going into turn 1, I think he's got a good shot, or he just has to save his tyres, and I think he's got that better long run truck, like I said. I think he'll get him there.
I'll be watching Gavin Sadler on this restart as well. Yeah, Sadler did get away quite well initially, but he got held up behind Purnell, who's quite slow away. It looks as a result of that, Micklemore may actually be able to jump down the inside of Sadler there and take his third place away from him. And Jason Martin's actually sat only a couple of car lengths behind those guys as well. But Callow has resumed the lead as we expect, and Purnell is all over him like a rash as they come through turn 2 on this first lap back under green. And he's really going to be trying to use that toe to get right up behind Callow again. And but now he's also going to have, for the first time this race, Josh Micklemore to contend with, who's been carrying a lot of pace there in third place. He's going to be most likely moving up onto the back of Purnell quite quickly as well. So he's going to have it all to deal with very soon.
Yeah, Micklemore actually did a very smart thing coming off of turn 2. He didn't come off turn 2 very well, and I think Sadler got a good run on him down the back stretch, but he just pulled over to the inside lane, so he always had position heading into turn 3. Kept that third position.
Yeah, we've got Jason Martin right on the back of Dave Douglas at the moment, so much he's almost touching him, and elects not to go past him into turn 1. And of course you'll notice turn 1, a lot of shadow there, so a lot of grip into turn 1. So Jason perhaps could have had a run down there, but he decided not to, and he's actually dropped back towards Will Barrington a little bit as well. So Douglas just extending that gap. They've all sort of fanned out now into that single file run. There is a bit of jostling going back further there in the pack, but Purnell looking to hunt down Callow. As you said, it looks as though Purnell has marginally better pace, but I guess the circumstances of the race as they've sort of played out tonight have actually favoured Callow, which is why Callow winds up in that lead position at the moment. But Purnell just trying a couple of different lines. He kind of goes inside, outside, runs a bit higher, runs a bit lower, just trying to do something a little bit different to what Callow's doing and give himself the opportunity to get off those turns a little bit better and perhaps make that move. I think down into turn 1 is going to be a very good place for him to do it if he's able to do it, but he's just trying a few different things and just trying to probe and have a look at what Callow's strengths and weaknesses might be, and perhaps even look at trying to take a little bit of air off the back spoiler of that number 46 as well.
Yeah, Matt Danson's just half a straight length up above these guys. I'm not sure what's gone wrong with him. But I'm not sure if Jason Martin's actually getting all that grip, because I'm pretty sure he's still on the 2 tyres. So he sort of stuck back there in 6th. He's really not gaining. He gains a little bit there, but he's not gaining much at all. He's sort of dropping back to Barrington.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right, he is still on those 2 tyres, as I believe, so he's actually doing an outstanding job just keeping with these guys, so doing great, and he really needs to do that to actually launch himself up the field. And just having a look now, we can see Callow actually trying to use the toe of the laps car in front of Damon Stockton, really using that toe to try and pull himself along and really negate any kind of advantage that Purnell might have behind him by sitting in his toe, and really trying to use that lap truck to tow him along and gain himself a little bit of straight line speed. But just washing up the track a little bit. Purnell really in close with him now, getting a run. He's actually gone down, and Callow tries to block him, but it looks like Callow is going to be Purnell is going to be able to send that one right up the inside into turn 3. And Callow hanging tough around the outside, though. He's doing a good job staying out there. And all sorts of aero forces coming into play there as well, don't forget. But it looks as though advantage Purnell at the moment with the positioning of those two trucks going side by side through the lead. There's slight touch between the two of them. Callow just holding on around the outside, and Purnell just having to slot in behind into the toe once more. And Callow's done a fantastic job to actually defend that, using the toe, all the tools at his disposal to actually hang on to the lead of this race. Fantastic stuff between the two of them.
Yeah, I think he gave it everything he had there. He just threw it in there and he kept it. You know, sort of made the outside line work there.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant job from him, and I think Jason Martin's gotten past Dave Douglas, and he's just working on the back of Sadler at the moment. But I'm keeping my eyes on the leaders at the minute, because this position, this lead of this race, feels like it could change at absolutely any moment. There's battles going on all around the track at the moment, up and down this big field that we've got here tonight. But Purnell moving right up onto the back of Callow again. I did speak to Chris before the race, and he said he was going to try and give us a show at Is He What as he comes out onto out of turn 4, right up onto the back of Callow once again, really just trying to sit in that draft and get into that toe and actually make one of these little sort of half moves he's got the opportunity to make, actually getting them to stick. But Stockton sticking in front of Callow at the moment, a few lengths up the road, and is really probably helping him out more than he actually realises or intends to. Just having a look now, we can see Purnell just sitting right in there again. He's gained over the course of this lap up onto the back of Callow. Is he going to have a look into turn 3? Is he going to have a look? He just sticks his nose down the inside. Callow too smart for that. Just dives in from the ideal line and takes that ideal line through turn 3, and has actually managed to extend on Purnell a little bit by doing that. Josh Mickelmore still keeping a watching brief back there in 3rd position, but the race is between these two at the moment. Absolutely. As we mentioned, there's battles going on up and down the track, but we'll keep with this one as Purnell sitting right in there behind Callow. Turn 1, a good place to look at a move with the track there in shadow, as we did mention. Not enough speed differential between the two to get it done that time, but
a good run.
He's got a bit of a run. He's got a little bit of a run underneath him in turn 2. Turn 2 is very slippery, notoriously slippery. And coming out, is there going to be contact again? Not quite, but you could almost barely fit a cigarette paper between them as they come out of turn 2. And now coming down the back stretch one more time. Callow just sitting in there and actually doing everything he needs to do to maintain that position.
Yeah, he is. I mean, see how much draft actually Purnell actually picks up at about the 2/3 of the way down the sort of front back stretches there. He gains a lot. So if he can just get a little bit closer on the exit of turn 4, like here, he might have a good shot coming into turn 1 here.
Yeah, he's actually got a really good run there. Very, very good run off of turn 4. Is he going to be close enough, though? He's almost sort of hit this bit of a cushion as he pulls out to have a look. Just sort of tries to sell him the dummy there, but it doesn't quite come off. Callow, once again, too smart for that. Just having a look a little bit further back, it looks as though Jason Martin has made it around Gavin Sadler. Sadler trying to hold on around the inside there as well. Don't forget Jason Martin on those older tyres. And looks as though Sadler may keep that position. And Jason Martin comes perilously close to actually dragging that purple Silverado right down the outside wall of turn 2.
I think what's going to come into play here is they're catching lap traffic, which is Damon Stockton in the 27 truck. But they haven't really caught him. They're not really catching him too much. But I think if they get to him, Jackson's going to get a little bit of toe off him. Is Chris Purnell. He's having a good look coming out of turn 4 and back down the front stretch. I think he's losing a little bit, so he's not going to have enough at the end of the straight. But that lap car is probably throwing dirty air also on Jackson.
Yeah, yes, I don't think these guys are that front sensitive on the front aero for it to be affecting him too much in the turns, but I do believe that Callow may be close enough to be picking up the slightest amount of toe there from Stockton. And like you say, they're not really catching Stockton at the moment. He's just sort of sitting up there. He's running a good pace. He's certainly running the pace that the leaders have been able to. And if nothing else, it looks as though Callow may have actually just been able to extend just a little bit on Purnell. Purnell no longer in danger of immediately making a passing move as he was a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's just got to come off turn 4 and get those good runs. He's got a good one here.
Yeah, it's looking very nice. Yeah, as he's come off turn 3 very, very well. Oh, Callow has just touched the curbing there on the inside of turn 4 and got it very sideways. Did a great job to hold on to it. And now Purnell coming down the inside. Is Callow going to be able to do his trademark move of hanging on around the outside there? I don't think he's very well placed to do it. And caution is out. And did Purnell get that move done in the nick of time? It looks as though he very much did.
Yeah, so the cautions for Michael Skurlock. He sort of hits the bricks coming out of turn 4 and into the inside wall. Well, he might miss it. No, he hits the inside wall.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him. He's driven a good race. He was right up there as well at the time.
And Dave Douglas cops a big hit at the end of that too, trying to avoid.
Yeah, definite shame for those guys. Unfortunately, when something happens right there, it's very hard to avoid. But just sort of looking back at that overtake for the lead that happened just in the nick of time before that caution came out. And yeah, you could see Callow there just put his wheel on the inside curb, got that truck sideways, and Purnell did not need a second opportunity, and he got that move done, was marginally ahead at the time the caution came out.
And this is interesting because they've been out there for a little bit now. They're probably want to come down and get 4 tyres. Jason Martin in 4th. Bicklemore going to get fresh new tyres on 3rd. So they're up there. It's going to be a good finish.
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, Jason Martin now in 4th position, and now if they all come to the lane, which you can only assume that they will, with coming to 10 laps to go, it's going to be less than that by the time they go green. But Martin's going to be on level tyres with everybody else, and you see how much ground he's been able to make on the older tyres. 2 new ones, 2 old ones. He only took 2 in that last stop, remember. So it's definitely going to be on for this victory. I think Purnell's going to fancy his chances. I think just about everybody there in that top 4 is going to be fancying their chances of a victory. And let's not forget about Will Barrington there. We mentioned him earlier on, sitting up there in 5th position, doing extremely well. Jason Williams, who we saw running so well at the front earlier on, he's down in 11th at the moment, but he's made quite a few spots over where he fell down to as a result of that stop. And also, quick shout out to Ben Doherty as well. He's started down in 31st position, running 9th at the moment. So very, very good gain from him.
Yeah, definitely a good gain. You also got Kevin Bomford started 28th. He's up there in 12th, so he's made a couple of good gains there too. As they all come off turn 4 and they all look hit road. Callow fakes out, but I know he's going to come down. They're all coming down. Yeah,
they're not fooling anybody doing that, are they? They're all coming down the pit lane, definitely. Nobody wants to be the sitting duck who's sitting there on old tyres with 10 to go. So I'm just going to be keeping an eye on these front 4, and in particular I'm going to be keeping an eye on Jason Martin because he's obviously played a bit of an interesting strategy call earlier on tonight, and I just really want to see what he's going to do and whether he's going to go for a standard 4 tyre stop, which you assume he probably will, or is he going to try something a little bit different? So he stops right on his marks, no mistakes there. Right side of the car goes up, everything looking correct so far. That drops down. It looks like he's just going to raise up on the left. Yep, so left tyre's going on now and drop down, and Jason Martin is away, having taken 4 tyres, comes out ahead of Micklemore. Will he beat Callow off the pits? And Callow actually throws the block there coming out of pit lane. Probably a fairly smart move, and keeps Jason Martin back there in 3rd, but he very nearly had that 2nd place away from him as well. And Josh Micklemore dropping down to 4th position, and that will be your top 4: Purnell, Callow, Micklemore and Martin.
And you can make the outside line work here on the restarts coming off the corners, but it's not like a lot of the other tracks we go to where it carries a lot of momentum. You still want that inside. So sitting 3rd here, Jason Martin, inside row, 2nd lane. That's going to suit him well. He could well and truly be up into 2nd before you know it.
All right, so just looking at the situation as it sits right now. So we've got Purnell. He's in a net 1st place as a result of this one. He's led pretty much all night with that brief interlude there from Callow. As we mentioned, Purnell's had the speed, but Callow's really had the rub of the green as far as the race has gone. I mean, when he first took the lead from Purnell, if you think back, it was due to a bit of lap traffic working in his favour, and then later on he had a pit stop working in his favour, and he took the lead again. So things have really actually worked out quite well for Callow tonight. But now we've also got Jason Martin, that absolute monster of a bloke, sat back there in 3rd place, ready to get all over these guys up the front. And we've got Josh Micklemore, who's had such a fantastic run, making his way up as well. So I think the winner of the race is going to come from one of these 4. I think that each of them has a legitimate claim to, and could give a list of legitimate reasons why they believe that they would be able to win this race. And I think that one of the four of them will, barring any kind of awful event where a whole bunch of guys come together. So, but if that does happen, if these guys get into a little bit of mess and so on, it's been such a hard race so far. Keep an eye on Gavin Sadler. Keep an eye on, we've got Ricky Cornwall back there as well. Keep an eye on Will Barrington, Doherty, Matt Clowett, who got involved in a bit of nonsense earlier on. He's in 9th place at the moment. He's actually just coming off the pit lane, so that position may reset. It's really, I think everybody in that top pack's going to fancy their chances, and particularly the top 4 have all got the pace to get this done.
Yeah, they certainly do. And Ricky Cornwell in 5th, he's come from 19th starting position. And he showed glimpses of speed all throughout last season, so I wouldn't count him out just yet either, especially if these top 4 sort of get together. He could be right there.
And interesting to look at Ricky Cornwall's truck as well, actually, because last I knew, he was actually part of the Alliance Sim Sports crew, but I'm seeing him now in a DPR Benmax livery, so perhaps there's actually been a team swap there for Ricky Cornwall.
Yeah, there well could have been. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he was Alliance.
Yeah, he certainly was. I remember speaking. I speak to the Alliance team boss and our race leader, Chris Purnell, reasonably often, and he was sort of speaking about Ricky and some of the other young guys that they've got in that team who they're looking to sort of bring up to the Thunder Series. And Ricky Cornwall in the DPR Benmax at the moment, so it looks like he's made the switch over the off season, and we'll see if that new team leads to some good results for him. But I'll tell you what, he's up there in 5th at the moment, so it's turning out quite well so far. Hopefully he can bring it home.
Yeah, definitely. His truck looks clean, and it looks pretty clean. A little bit of crinkle on the right front maybe, but paint job looks good too. I like that.
Yeah, they are good-looking cars, aren't they, the DPR Benmax crew? I know Matty Clowett used to race for them a while ago. Phil Otto races for those guys. Damon Stockton's another one of the drivers in that squad. But Ricky Cornwall certainly flying the flag for them at the moment, and really taking up that mantle of lead driver as far as this race is concerned, at the very least.
It's going to be an interesting restart. Where's Danson ended up in all this? He hasn't been up there like Buller said he would be. No, he's back there in 5th.
I saw him running down the pit lane again earlier on, so I believe he may have actually had some sort of other issue. May have picked up a bit of damage in something or something like that. But he's not, when you look at it sort of geographically, he's not a great deal of distance away from the lead. There's a lot of positions there, but don't count him out. Don't count him out is all I'm saying, because as we saw a couple of seasons ago, he can wheel these trucks, no problem whatsoever. So I wouldn't rule him out at all at this stage. I think he can, maybe not for the win, but I think he can definitely make it up to give those lead guys a bit of curry if he can catch a bit of a break.
Yeah, that's right. If anyone can do it, Hanson definitely can. Let's see if Chris Purnell though gets a good jump here. I think he will. I don't know if he'll go early.
I think he will go as early as he's allowed. I think he will absolutely go as early as he's allowed. With coming around now to 7 laps to go, he has got to get the biggest gap that he can get as quick as he can. So I would, if I was in his position, as soon as that pace car ducks down, I'd be stamping on it, absolutely.
Wait a little bit. He goes now. Gets a good jump.
Off he goes. So he will slot into 1st place, and it looks like Jason Martin's going to have a nibble at Callow here, and may well get that done. He's in a very good position on the inside of that very grippy turn 1, and will Callow be able to fight him? We saw him fight off Purnell before, hanging on around the outside. Is he going to be able to do the same to Martin? Doesn't look like it at the moment. He's still got that overlap there. It seems to be one of the few guys that can actually hang tough out there, but he slots into 3rd place just in front of Josh Mickelmore.
Yeah, he does, and yeah, Jason does end up getting that 2nd position. Mickelmore now having a look at Callow into turn 3, sticking his nose down there. Thinks better of it though.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? He looked like he was going to go for the big send just then, but sending it like that in oval racing very, very rarely works. So Martin now, and I think Purnell would have been hoping to see anybody but that purple 21 in his mirrors at this stage of the race. He will have that thing absolutely flat to the boards. See a little bit of jostling going on behind, but with so few laps to go, let's just focus here on this battle for the lead. 0.4 of a second. You don't need me to tell you that. You can see the gap for yourself. and Martin just looking at trying to home in now on the back of that number 920, who's put on such a dominant performance tonight, has run at the front since the drop of the green flag. That 920 truck has been up the front, and we're just going to be able to see what Jason Martin's going to be able to do. It looks like he may be just closing that gap, but is he closing it by enough to actually get the job done before the end of the race? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how much draft he picks up down the front. I mean, the front and the back stretch. But he looks like he's got a great run through turn 3, and he's going to be in the toe now. Definitely going into, or coming off, or at least.
He really got through 3 very, very well, didn't he? And just gained a chunk of time. I think he gained 2 truck lengths on Purnell in front. Purnell's already feeling the need to go defensive. And doesn't this look very, very similar to the Brickyard 400 we saw on Saturday in the ANZCAR competition? Just the cup race that we had here on Saturday. Jason Martin chasing down somebody else for the victory here. And it looks like maybe there may be a different result. Caution is out. Caution is out. Can you see who that is?
It sort of looks like a pretty big crash. Just having a look here, coming off turn 1 of 3 wide, dents on the inside. Looks like it might have been Stacey Walker or Tregarthen's actually ended up in the wall. Hang on a sec. I think Kyle Stevens ended up in the wall first. He was up high, ended up in the wall, and so came back down on Tregarthen, who's ended up in the inside wall. Took out Dave Douglas again. About 4 cars involved.
Yeah, so it looks like Danson was just getting underneath. They went 3 wide, and as you say, Tregarthen just got caught there. And yeah, a whole lot of other guys went straight to the scene of the accident, unfortunately. So now, by my calculation, I don't believe this is race over. I think we might get a green-white checker scenario here.
Yeah, I believe so. And actually, I think this actually plays into Chris Purnell's favour because you know, Jason Martin was right on the back of him. Now he's got another chance to do another great restart, get a good jump and a bigger lead on Jason Martin.
And let's not forget now as well how difficult it is starting where Jason Martin's going to be starting, which is outside row 1, because you're not allowed to start out the front of the leader. You're not allowed to start ahead of him. You must be behind him at the time that the green flag goes. But of course, you're trying to look out the side window of your truck. You're trying to drive in a straight line, make sure that you don't, run up against the wall or anything else. And you've got to match your acceleration. You've got to be on the throttle no more than, even a tenth of a second after the point where the leader is. You're going to be getting dropped. So it is very much advantage Chris Purnell at the moment, I think. If we go green with 1 lap to go, get a green-white checker, I'd be putting money on Purnell to actually take this home.
Yeah, I agree. I think starting second on the outside's the hardest place to start. Yeah, you're banking on sort of getting a good run or jumping as soon as the leader does, but they get such a good jump. It's actually easier to be behind somebody else and sort of watch a couple of rows in front of you and see where they are. Get a jump with them, but second's definitely hard. Yeah, I don't envy Jason Martin here in second.
And the other thing is, with Callow starting there in third, he's going to be starting right up there behind Purnell. And if he can get a run down the inside of Jason Martin, he may even be able to take that second place back. And I can guarantee you he will be absolutely really keen to get that second place back, having held one of the top 2 positions for so long all night. But we might just take this opportunity, because no one's going to the pit lane this time round, to actually run through the positions as they stand at the moment, just for this last little dash to the end. So we've got Purnell, as we mentioned, leading this race. Jason Martin, second place. Callow in third. Mickelmore, hasn't he come up a long way? He's in fourth. Gavin Sadler, we haven't talked too much about him, but he's had a fantastic run tonight, and he's still sitting there in fifth. Ben Doherty, as we mentioned, started 31st position, is now in 6th. Ricky Cornwall, we were talking about him earlier on, still having a great run there in 7th. Then we got Barrington, Jason Williams, he's fought his way back up to 9th position. Ryan Jones, Kevin Bomford, Damon Stockton, Tristan Yelland, Brett Douglas, Nathan Tregarthen, Matt Danson, who's just having a look back to see Matt Danson. Looks like he might actually be off the course at the moment as well. So I think Nathan Tregarthen might be our last truck running. All right, so we just watched these guys roll round now. I guess, Daniel, having been in this situation a number of times where you get this late caution and you know for sure that the next caution, if there is one, is going to end the race. You also know that the end of the race is coming up very, very quickly. what's going through your mind? How are you planning to gain as many positions as you can in the shortest amount of time that you possibly can?
Is it one of those cases where you just send it?
Bit of Dan Ricciardo style, just lick the stamp and send it, you reckon? Just throw caution to the wind and just throw it there up the inside and see what happens?
Yeah, I think so. You never know what's going to happen. But that's pretty much the typical sort of line around this track, is to throw it on the inside. I don't know what you can do on the outside, but I definitely think this caution's played into Chris Purnell's favour. But, you always want to win these things under green too, so if the caution comes out and he gets a good jump, he's probably going to win it. But you always want to win these things under green. It's a lot more exciting that way. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's always a bit of an anticlimax when something finishes under caution, isn't it? So I don't think anybody wants to see that. But I think that Chris Purnell will take it either way. He, as I mentioned earlier on, he did promise to put on a show for us tonight. He obviously called the ANZCAR race last night and thoroughly enjoyed that, and said at the time that he wanted to come back here in the trucks and actually put on a good show for everyone else. That was a fantastic race that we had last night in the ANZCARs, and ANZCAR living up to its reputation as well, certainly. So we are now working at lap 48 and we are still under caution. So I would expect at the end of this lap the pace car lights will go out and we will have a 1 lap run to the checkered flag.
And if Callow can stick on the inside row and stick it on the inside of Jason Martin, them two are going to battle pretty hard coming in through, or off turn 1 and through turn 2, and I think Micklemore's going to be in a pretty good spot to pick up the slops of that if anything happens, or even get on the inside going into turn 3 of someone.
Yeah, if I was Micklemore or Sadler, I'd be sort of cautiously optimistic at the moment, I reckon. Just looking at these guys up front, I mean, we will expect on a green-white checker scenario, which it looks like we're going to have, we would expect Purnell to probably win the race. If he gets away well, gets a good start, I would expect him to probably win it. Between Callow and Martin, you'd probably put your money on Martin just because of his pedigree, but Callow's been very, very quick. And that's the thing with Callow, he has tracks where he's just blindingly fast, and he seems to be having one of those really good runs tonight. So between those two, and if they're close enough in pace and they get close enough on the track and they come together, as Sadler or Micklemore, you're almost sort of cautiously optimistic that you may be able to run through and grab that second place if those two sort of strike each other. So it's not over yet. I reckon there's a little bit more to see in this. In the 2.5 miles that we're going to have, or we estimate we're going to have to go when the green flag flies, I think we could be in for something pretty special.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Mark can sort of get out of there in second, he might be able to put one of those magic Martin laps down and get Purnell by the last lap. But other than that, yeah, I think Chris probably will run away with this.
Yeah, I'd say if it was anybody else, you'd sort of say absolutely, no real chance. If Purnell gets away well, he's got the win, and I still think that that's the case. But I think with Martin, you never quite know. The guy seems to be almost able to do the impossible a lot of the time in these trucks, stock cars. Anything that turns left, he can almost do the impossible. So he's got one of the hardest jobs here, starting outside row 1. He's got an excellent chance to take second place, but as they come around to the green here, it is going to be extremely, extremely tight, and there's going to be, hopefully, position changes all over this field. So, guys, get ready. This is going to be an absolute grandstand finish here for these guys. We'll take you right through through this final lap of this 50-lap event here in the 131 WebRadio ANZCAR Truck Series. And as they come around now, coming out of turn 4, the nerves, the adrenaline, everything will be very, very high, especially for those two guys on the front row. And we're going to wait to see what kind of jump Purnell's going to want to do. I expect he's going to go early. He does go early, and he's got a great start. And Callow, as we predicted, has been able to get up alongside Martin here. And Callow's going to sit there on the inside of Martin. And is Martin going to be able to hang on around the outside the way Callow attempted to do to him earlier on? He's certainly trying. Callow on that ideal line and slots up into second place. So Callow has taken that second place away from Jason Martin, who's now coming under threat from Josh Micklemore. Callow gets down onto the curb. That's not going to give his momentum any good at all. But he has really closed up onto the back of Purnell Purnell. Purnell actually feels compelled to throw the block down the back straight, and he's coming under massive threat from Jackson Callow there as they run into turn 3. 2 turns to go. Purnell is in the lead. Callow is using absolutely all the track there to try and get on terms with him. I don't reckon it's going to be enough as they come through 4. He gets right up on the curb again. He's got a fantastic run out of there, strikes the wall on the outside of turn 4. He's out there wrecking behind. They're wrecking behind. The top few are actually going to be set. But there's a massive wreck going on behind it. We're going to have to dissect all this later on. But Chris Purnell's going to actually take that victory ahead of Callow, Martin, Micklemore. It looks as though Ricky Cornwall will be next, and we may actually just have to go back and actually dissect that wreck because that looked massive. So who was it? It looks as though Doherty possibly. Doherty possibly got up into Sadler. So Doherty's got up into Sadler. Sadler's bounced off the wall, turned Doherty, and they've come back on in cross, and it looks like they've taken one of the Alliance trucks out there as well, and people have just gone piling into them as they got nothing to lose now. They keep the foot hard down, trying to get across the line. Big few positional changes. Skurlock comes across the line. He got involved in that, but he comes across the line in 14th place with smoke spewing from the back of that truck. But Chris Purnell's won it. If we take, I don't even know where to look now after all of that. That was absolutely manic. Couldn't have been set up any better.
Oh, and you've got to feel for Ben Doherty. I mean, he come from 31st on the grid all the way up to 6th. Highest he's been all night, and he's probably hoping for a top 5 or even just 6th. He'd be happy with 6th. Get into a wreck on the front stretch, the last lap, and ends up 16th.
Rolls the line backwards. Yeah, rolls across the line backwards. Finishes in 16th position. So yeah, rough night for him, but absolutely fantastic job for all concerned. All concerned. So just having a look at those final race positions, and I think that we've got a couple of guys actually wanting to come into the Discord chat. So Danny, perhaps if you would be able to share a link to those guys, and we can just start to wrap up these race results as we see Chris Purnell running, doing the winners burnouts actually as well. He might. He'll be very, very pleased with that. That result, I imagine. It's a absolutely frantic finish to the race, and we'll just go through these final positions now. So as mentioned, Chris Purnell, fantastic win for him. I'll be very, very happy with that first place and a lead in the championship. Callow comes home second after that fantastic restart, trying to taking that second position back off Jason Martin with that great jump, taking advantage of Martin's not so good start. Then looking back with Jason Martin, as mentioned, in third. Josh Micklemore comes home fourth. Ricky Cornwall ended up finishing in P5, so great job for him. Will Barrington there in 6th. Jason Williams got his way through that wreck, back up to 7th. Ryan Jones there in 8th. Damon Stockton 9th. Matty Clowitt got his way all the way back up to 10th position. Gavin Sadler, who sadly was involved in that, ran so high all night, and then got involved in that accident right there at the end, got pushed out into the outside wall of turn 4. In P11, Tristan Yelland comes home in an excellent 12th. And we look at Brett Douglas there 13th. Michael Skurlock in 14th. Matt Danson 15th. So I believe he didn't actually complete the race. Ben Doherty there in 16th position. Kevin Bomford 17th. Tregarton 18th. And now we're definitely down into our retirements. Kyle Stevens 19th. Dave Douglas, he had such a great run earlier on in the race. 5 laps down in 20th. Todd Maxfield 21st, Stephen Williams 22nd, Kai Sloggett, Nicholas Walsh, Bradley Cheney 23rd, 24th and 25th, Raymond Yeager 26th, Reese May 27th, Darren McKenzie, shocker for him, 28th position, 33 laps down, Aaron Dillon, Tristan Koch, Dwayne Priest, Stacey Walker rounding out the 32 trucks that actually took the start, with Terry Marwood and Ryan Bell actually not making the starting grid. So just having a look back at that race before we jump into the interviews, sum it up. Daniel, sum this one up, because I think it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. You know, it was very clean in parts. We had a few caution flags, but it wasn't anything stupid. And yeah, just the ending. You know, you couldn't script it any better. Really, it was just a great race. race all up, and it was hard fighting. Chris Purnell with the win. Jason Martin, he'd be disappointed. There'd be a few disappointed people in that tonight for sure, but I think Purnell would definitely be happy.
Yeah, as well he might be. I mean, it's not like it was a second-rate field that showed up tonight. It was an absolute top-class field that showed up tonight. He took pole, and he got the win. He got that job done. So you can't really say enough for the drive that he put in. Callo's drive was absolutely spectacular. Jason Martin, always, you expect excellence from him, and he did not disappoint. Josh Mickelmore coming all the way up from a fairly ordinary qualifying, getting up there into fourth place as well, and a few new guys sort of showing their faces at the top of the order as well. And you feel for the guys like Dave Douglas and Gavin Sadler and Doherty, who were running so well early on in the race, and for various reasons were unable to convert that. Gavin Sadler falling right at the last. So what we might do without any further delays is bring our winner Chris Purnell up into the broadcast booth and have a quick chat with him.
It was blinder.
It was, wasn't it, Chris? Welcome to the broadcast booth, the Performance e-streaming broadcast booth. What would you like to say? If you could sum that up in one word, Chris, and you know what I want you to say. So if you can sum it up in one word, what would it be?
Oh, it was enormous for sure.
Fantastic. I knew you wouldn't let me down. So one of the things that we did sort of speak before the race tonight, and you said you wanted to try and put on a show sort of similar to the ANZCAR race last night, and you did not disappoint, mate. So just run us through the race if you can.
Yeah, it was quite good. The car seemed to get better as the run went on. So every time the caution come out, it didn't upset me, but it kind of made me feel like I had to start again, sort of thing. And but yeah, when we got into the run, I could see that Jackson was using his tyres up quite early, and then I was able to sort of just show the nose a couple of times and put him under a bit more pressure, and then he'd sort of slide out of a corner, and I'd be able to get a run on him. But yeah, it was hard racing the whole night. And then when that last caution came out and I saw there was one to go and I saw Jason next to me, I was a little bit worried there for a minute, but yeah, it all turned out all right in the end.
I guess sort of looking at the early part of the race, sort of early mid to part of the race, and one of the things that we were saying is that you seem to have the pace, but the circumstances appeared to be more favouring Callo. I think you lost the lead in the first place when you came up behind a bit of lap traffic that just sort of didn't work out for you, but did work out for him. And then after taking the lead back, you got in some pit stops and he's jumped you again. So, I mean, would it have been one of those things? I mean, if you had finished second tonight, would you have sort of felt that it was a job sort of half done, or perhaps you didn't get what you deserved out of it?
Yeah, I got pretty unlucky with, I think it was car 9 parked on the apex of 4 when the leaders were coming around. That was a bit silly on his behalf, but yeah, it is what it is. And then yeah, Jackson just had a really good second pit stop, and I had nothing for him there. But it wasn't. I wouldn't have been too worried if I finished second. It would have been a good result, Like I'm happy with a top 3 week in, week out. If I can sort of build on that every week, I'll be happy. But yeah, to get the first win of the season, I'm pretty over the moon with.
Yeah, you absolutely should be. It was a fantastic drive. And one of the things we touched on just at the end of the race there was, I mean, this wasn't a second-rate field that showed up tonight. This was Jason Martin, Matt Danson, Jackson Callo, Josh Mickelmore. These guys, Gavin Sadler in there as well, who's very fast, Dave Douglas. These weren't B-grade drivers you're up against here tonight, and you took pole position, and apart from a brief period sort of in the middle when you were running second, you ran in the top 2 all night and you dominated the race. So I think it's something that you can be very, very pleased with, and just I guess congratulations from all of us.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. I've been working pretty hard in the background lately to improve on everything as a whole package, and working on the little 1%ers like pit stops and just general pace and everything like that. So it's coming together now, and I'm starting to see the results. So it definitely builds some confidence going into the further weeks on.
Yeah, well, hard work pays off. So absolutely reaping the benefits of it tonight. So just before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank C21 Systems, Scrubber Detailing, and the boys in Alliance Motorsport. They've been working really hard the last few weeks to get ready for this season, and yeah, it's starting to pay off already.
All right, excellent. So that is your winner, guys. Chris Purnell coming out of the blocks, absolutely very fast tonight, and grabbing that win. So we may just grab in our second place getter, Jackson Callow, who had an excellent run tonight. So we'll grab Jackson in. Jackson, Edward Foster here in the Performance e-streaming broadcast booth. First of all, congratulations on an excellent race, and was hoping that you may be able to talk through how it unfolded from your perspective.
Yeah, cheers, mate. There was a really close finish there with Chris. We just knew I had to get that start right and get past Jason, but I just couldn't quite get him on that last corner there. I went probably a bit too quick and ended up on the outside wall, but yeah, that was a great racing with Chris and Jason and the boys all night.
We saw sort of mid-race when you were actually in front of Chris that he seemed to have a bit of a pace advantage on you, and occasionally sort of got to the point that he had sort of nibbles at you, but never really got it stuck underneath you and got the move done until that actual decisive one. So, I mean, how were you actually working at that point in the race to try and make sure that you were able to hold on to that lead?
Yeah, I probably pushed a little bit too hard too early, used all my tyres up. But when he sort of got to me later in that stint, I just sort of just had to be a bit smart and try and block his run on the exit, which was I sort of stuck to the outside just a little. But I knew he was sticking the nose in just to try and unsettle me a bit. But yeah, just hard racing.
So looking at the last restart, of course, that awesome green-white checker finish that we had, you were sat there in third place right up behind the leader, and I think that everybody knows how difficult it is starting front of the outside row. So were you sort of cautiously optimistic at that stage that you may be able to nab that second place back from Jason? Because when the green flag went, it certainly looked as though that was all that was on your mind, is really sticking it down the inside of Jason and making sure you're able to carry that through. So was that your aim going into that last restart?
Yeah, sure was. Sitting I started on the outside for a couple of those restarts. I knew it was like. And it was just hard to judge off the inside row where you're going to get the jump or not. So I just knew I'd just sort of get on the back of Chris and just go as hard as I could into that first corner because I don't know what the deal was. Jason just seemed to be shifting gears real good at the starts compared to me and was getting an advantage. So I just knew I had to get on the inside to that first corner and then just try hard as I could to get up on the back of Chris for that last lap.
All right. Well, fantastically well done, mate. Second place to kick off the season, and I'm sure you'll be looking to kick on from here. So, just with that in mind, sort of looking forward to the next race and everything else. I mean, you've set yourself up with a pretty good foundation for the season now. What are you looking at? You're sort of specifically aiming for going into the next rounds of this series.
To be honest with you, it would only turn in tonight for some fun, but yeah, I might turn in next week to see how I go, but not necessarily looking for the championship, more focus on the Thursday Night Thunder and the ANZCAR at the moment. But yeah, it was definitely a good night, so I'll probably definitely tune in next week to see how I go. But yeah, I don't reckon I'll probably be consistent enough, to be honest, to be able to stand up here in the top of this championship.
Well, I certainly, if you drive anything like you did tonight, mate, you're definitely got to be there or thereabouts. So just before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to, sponsors, teammates, etc.?
Oh, yeah, you guys are putting on the night as usual. Also, TV installations. All the boys at Lads Race Team for the night. They're bad luck to a couple of them. Got caught up in some incidents. And, yeah, big Tommy Dwyer for his support tonight as well.
Excellent. So there you have it, guys. Your second place getter, Jackson Callow. So excellent driving there tonight. So just left there in the green room, Danny, I can see we've got Ricky Cornwall there. So not sure if you'd like to have a quick chat to Ricky. Had an excellent run tonight, coming home in 5th position.
Yeah, sure thing. Ricky, how you going tonight, mate?
Pretty good, thanks, mate.
Oh, that's good. Well, yeah, you had a good, solid run tonight. I started 19th, worked your way through the fields at 5th. Tell us about your night.
Yeah, well, very interesting. Start the new season off with the new team, and went out there and wasn't expecting that high, but we just kept our head down and knuckled down.
Yeah, that's good. We actually did touch on. It looked like because I think you were with the Alliance last time in the blue and yellow. You've now switched teams to the ANZCAR. Is that pretty good shift for you?
Yeah, I like racing other categories too, and to race the V8s and Porsches with them. It's more variety, so that's why I thought was a good opportunity to move.
Yeah, sounds good. As long as you're having fun and enjoying yourself, why not? And results seem to show when you're having fun. Like you had a good result tonight.
Yeah, it was real good.
Yeah, well, so easy. So we'll catch you back in the truck series next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be there, and lots of practice as we had tonight, and yeah, we'll see you there.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, have a good one, and congratulations on your 5th place finish tonight. And we'll catch you next week.
Sweet, thanks, guys.
All right, so that was our 5th place getter, Ricky Cornwall. So, I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag for a lot of people. I think that Matt Danson didn't have a great night tonight. He's probably the most notable one. That perhaps you would expect to have finished higher, but as we touched on earlier on, we had Gavin Sadler as well sort of get involved in that incident right at the end. Dave Douglas, who was running so well as well, but then of course you got the good news stories as well. Purnell with the victory, Callow, and those two dominated all night. We had Jason Martin, Michael Moore, and Ricky grabbing that good result. Great result there from Barrington as well. Jason Williams, Ryan Jones. There are a lot of guys there that had excellent runs. So I guess sort of looking back on this race as a whole, what do you take from it more than anything else, Daniel, with a view to the rest of the season and what we can expect?
Well, from what I've seen tonight, opening it for these guys to run every race, like last season, sort of the Thunder guys, they can only choose 5 races to race in, which isn't even half the season. So, these guys are going to probably come back every week, and we're going to see races like that, like we saw tonight, tight, close. Just good driving all around. I think it's going to be pretty good.
All right, well, absolutely hope. I mean, if the rest of the season goes off anything like tonight, we're in for an absolute treat. And you're going to be able to catch it every week on Performance C streaming all the way through to the end of this current season. So a little bit more that we didn't get a chance to touch on at the beginning of the night, just the way in which the structure has slightly changed in terms of the way that ANZCAR is working and sort of integrating this truck series with the Thunder. This has always sort of acted as the feeder series to Thunder, but obviously, ANZCAR has now removed that restriction from Thunder drivers taking part, and it's actually produced a fantastic race. So, just for the guys who are looking to get into the Thunder, of course, there are different criteria upon them now. They do need to satisfy certain requirements in terms of finishing position and participation to actually gain that promotion. But even if they don't gain that promotion, there's still some fantastic racing on offer here in the Truck Series and also in the K&N Series, which doesn't get broadcast, but is certainly a wonderful series all in its own right. So I think there's some really great things to look forward to for ANZCAR for the rest of the season, and also sort of moving on into the summer series that they'll be running as well, and then sort of on into the next year. So looking forward now, we've got obviously on Thursday night, we're going to have our Thursday night Thunder is going to be coming back, and I believe we're running at New Hampshire for that one. And then following on from that, on Sunday night, we're going to be showing the ANZCARs again as well for the second round of that 6-round series. So any final comments you'd like to make before we sign off for tonight, Daniel?
Just that it was a very good race tonight. I was impressed with everybody. It's just a great race. I'm looking forward to next week, Las Vegas, 100 laps out in the desert. It's always good fun at Las Vegas. Nice, tight, close racing again. 3 wide. It's going to be a great race.
Absolutely fantastic. So from me, from Daniel, from Matt Hunter as well, who's been running the cams tonight, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time from the ANZCAR 131 WebRadio Truck Series. Good night.